You smell that? Someone's cooking here. Because I just had a brain blast. And I think I finally figured out why there's so many villains in Spider-Man Brand New Day, but not only that, who the main villain is or who the main villains are, and it's something that I haven't seen anybody talk about. And there's actually a very interesting way for how we can get introduced to the Venom symbiote. But you know me, I've been getting crumbs, I've been seeing dots, I've been making them connect, and I'm gonna give you guys a 20-star meal. Because while nobody else has been talking about it, me and you know what we gotta do, we gotta talk about it. And no, I don't think it's gonna end up being Mr. Negative, unfortunately. I'm positive this news is gonna make you feel negative. But I do still think we're gonna get Martin Lee in this film, and he's gonna build a close connection with Peter Parker because he's the new head. New what? A Feast, taking over for Aunt May. But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think he could be playing in the shadows right now. Maybe he somehow becomes Mr. Negative in this film. But give us little hints and teases at this being a new surrogate father figure for Peter, so when that betrayal happens, it's gonna sting. But my theory really hinges on this little symbol that we got on the side of the tank, thanks to these Brand New Day set photos, which, you know, everyone assumed, myself included, that this was gonna be the Inner Demon Gang. But with the whole slew of insiders saying that not only is Mr. Negative not gonna be in this movie, but the Inner Demon Gang is also not gonna be in this movie, that kind of flipped this symbol on its head for me, and now I was scrambling to think who the hell it could be. Because one option that I hope is not true, and it's due to the fact that I assume that Punisher is in this tank, and I thought he stole this from the Inner Demon Gang, but now it could just end up being his tank. I initially thought that whatever happens in the Punisher special presentation with all these dirty cops wearing his symbol, he was going to end up changing it. Just like Jason Aaron's Punisher run, which I don't think is a bad thing, I just wasn't a big fan of them changing his symbol, because if you look at this, it does kind of look like this, but I still don't think that's what it is. And we also recently got set photos of Punisher in his new fit and fade on the set of his special presentation, so I'm assuming this is probably towards the end of the movie, and he's taking his symbol back. He said, "Give me that shit back." He's just slightly adjusted it. So again, we're back to square one. I'm back to yapping, but don't worry, patience is a virtue. Make sure those attention spans are in check. Who did this symbol belong to? And then I started thinking about all the villains that have been confirmed in this movie so far, and all of them are like, you know, Z and D list characters. I think we're definitely going to get some type of bar with no name mentioned in this movie, if not we see it in general. Because on top of the fact that we know Boomerang is in this movie, we also recently found out that Ramrod is in this movie, as well as Tombstone and Scorpion, who I think is going to be playing like the main villain role, but he isn't like the main villain that gets this whole thing set in motion. And don't forget, at one point we're going to get a Savage Hulk, so he's going to end up being like a villain too, or an antagonist. But what do all of these villains have in common? They all got enhancements in some way, shape, or form. So now that I've set the table for you and all the foreplays out of the way and all the context is in there, it's time to fuck. Because I think Spider-Man Brand New Day is going to be Spider-Man Homecoming on steroids. But what do I mean by that? I think damage control is going to play a huge factor into this film, which we know because we got set photos of a costume designer's wall that confirms that we got DODC guard uniforms. Now, in case you need a little refresher, the DODC, or the Department of Damage Control, was introduced in Spider-Man Homecoming, and what is their goal and role and mission? To clean up all of the messes involved in superhuman activity. But since Homecoming, they've slowly but surely started getting more and more power and collecting and confiscating more and more powerful weapons, artifacts, etc. And we know this is a fact because in She-Hulk and Ms. Marvel, they have a DODC Supermax prison, which I think is where they're going to send all of the most dangerous villains. And we know that's where they're holding someone like Emil Blonsky, Abomination. And I think it would make a whole lot of sense for them to transfer, you know, people like Vulture